not being very helpful. The manual has a lot of details, down to the size of the included tools. And not just the size of the tools, the size of everything. And specs. The only thing I'm unsure of is if I got frame size S or L, but that should be somewhere on the bike. I shall begin with the installation and adjustment of the handlebars. I'm gonna use the tools that were included with this e-bike and go step by step through the manual just how it's written. So first, I undo those screws, I center the handlebars and put this little piece back on, the 4 screws back in, and I'm not going to tighten them all the way because I still want to be able to move the handlebars. Flip the vehicle, that's right, the manual says the vehicle, upside down, undo this screw all the way, lose it, don't lose these ones either, and then put the fender back into place. Put the screws in, and tighten everything down all the way. And there you go. Fender installed. This giant screw, you don't need it. It's just in there to prevent the fork from getting bent during shipping. So remove that. And next I'm going to install the wheel. But first I got to take out this doodad. I don't know if you noticed, but my hand is disgusting. Well, that's because I took up a new hobby. I scuba dive now. Look at the cute nurse shark. Aww. I bumped my hand on that ship and something, I don't know what it was, but it hurt. Anyway, so this wheel goes in like this. So you put the rotor into the brake caliper and then you skewer it. Here you have to kind of play around with the tension and it can't be too tight, not too loose. Close that and try to get it as close to the frame as possible. Next up, the display. It's a really big display, which I absolutely love. So here I am putting in these screws, and what's nice is the manual actually tells you which tool to use. 2.5mm Allen key. This is the headlight. It just attaches with one screw, and you have to make sure you put it in correctly. Here I'm putting it incorrectly. It goes from the other side in. Oops. This part's pretty easy. It's already in there, but you can adjust it to your height, play with the tension, and clamp it down. The pedals. So one turns counterclockwise, the left one, and they are labeled. So get it in there and then tighten it down with the tool. The other one, the right one, turns clockwise. Back over in the handlebar area, you gotta put the cables together. They are color coded. Unfortunately, for some reason, there's 4 red ones, and if you put the 2 incorrect red ones together, you'll get an error message and the bike won't start. So shut it off, put them together correctly, and restart the bike. The last part of assembly is adjusting the handlebars to your preference. So that really depends, I would say, on your height or whatever, just your preference. Stick them where you want them, tighten it down, and charge the bike. It does take several hours to do this, and I don't recommend doing it overnight, so yeah, I don't know what's going on here. To turn the bike on, I have to push this button, then come up here, hold down that button until the screen lights up. To get into the menu, click the plus and minus buttons at the same time. Plus and minus buttons to navigate, and then I changed the kilometers to miles with the power button. Thinking back, I really should have gone through more of these features. But if you notice, Bluetooth connection is an option on here, which is very cool. To back out of it, you go all the way to the bottom and click back. To take out the battery, undo this thingy, stick the key in, turn it, and the battery just pops out. To turn on the headlight, hold down the plus button for 3 seconds. Okay, finally time for a ride. And this got delayed because I got super sick. I was sick for weeks, couple weeks. Anyway, so the fastest I got this has 5 modes. I put it on 5 right about there. 20 miles per hour, and this is on the hardest gear, so the hardest to pedal. Keeping it there in the highest gear with somewhat of a running start. I went up this hill. It's actually a little bit bigger than it looks,
I had to stand on the bike, and then at some point, I think I gave up and ended up walking the bike the rest of the way up, right about there. Yep. From a stand-still position, mode 5, hardest gear to pedal in. I went up this hill. It didn't even feel like I was going up a hill, and I went up much faster. Same thing side by side. On the left one, obviously I'm using the motor. Yeah, I should have put the camera on the other side instead of like in a bush, but there's a lot of people and I didn't want them to see my phone. I'm using a phone for this, so I kind of hid it in the bushes. It's also out of the way. Anyways, I really felt the Vanpowers on the left side. Left side, using the motor, mode 5. Right side, I'm just pedaling. And both are in the hardest gear. Quite a difference between motor and no motor. And what's nice is you see all of your information as you're riding on this giant 3.5-inch LCD color screen. I like how this doesn't look like an e-bike, because the battery is hidden. It's not just this big old clunky thing attached to the bike, just kind of wherever. I also like that it has a headlight and a brake light. In my state, after dark, I believe it is, you do have to have both of them. But even if you're not required to have them, I think it's still a cool feature to have. Ah, there's the brake light in action. The seat's not bad. It's not as cushy and wide as some of the others I've tried, but those ones, after a while of pedaling, kind of rub my legs the wrong way. This one didn't do that. Overall, it's a pretty comfy ride. The seat's got a little bit of bounce to it, and the bike does have hydraulic suspension on the fork. It also doesn't jerk a lot when you're using the motor. Some of these do. This one's a fairly smooth ride. By now you've probably noticed the rack on the back. What's nice is I didn't have to install it. It already came like that. It holds 25 kilograms, so what is that, about 55 pounds? In total, the bike holds 330 pounds. That is the max weight limit. Alright, so after a hard day of not pedaling very much, we decided to make a little stop for some really healthy skip. Anyways, heading back home now. I'm sure I missed some information, but that's okay. There's links down below to the Vanpowers website where you can check out the UrbanGlide Pro or any other model that they have. Alright, so that's it. Here's my tushy again. Toodaloo-dee-loo. Bye guys.